chocolate educator, expert. Eagranie Yuh is joining us right now. You've got your chocolate tasting kit that is out. 4 years of blood, sweat, and tears on this one. And there's a look at it. We're going to give you a chance to win this if you're watching at home and loving your chocolates. But how do you even begin to judge the quality of chocolate?
Well, there's a couple of elements to it, of course. So if you think about when you shop for a house, for example, you want to make sure that it has 4 walls and a roof. That's pretty important. But what goes inside of it, like you might like a super minimalist thing, and I want like fuchsia walls and bright pink couches, and so there's a technical element and there's a subjective element. And so technical is a little bit easier to talk about, so we'll be focusing on that today.
So with the International Chocolate Awards is something you're involved in. There's Canadian competitors. Take us through this this first sample we have here.
So this is a typical brand of grocery store chocolate, shall we say,
okay.
That I just picked up at the grocery store, and you can see, the outside is kind of bashed up. It's a little bit gray. It doesn't look super appetizing. And if you actually look at the cross section, many people don't do this. I always cut my chocolates in half. My husband thinks I'm crazy, but he's gotten used to it. And you can see how thick the shell is. It's like, I don't know, 5 millimeters, so that's like a house that looks like this, but the walls are this thick. Like you're actually...
I'm okay with that. I'm just going to dive in and go for that.
Go for it. Please taste. And so if somebody asked me, they said, why are those truffles so creamy? And I looked at the ingredient list, and it was a small amount of chocolate, and there was sugar, coconut oil, and palm oil. And I was like, well, that's why it's so creamy, is because it's actually full of oil, which I'm sure makes it really appetizing right now. But
very tasty, very creamy on this. Now, we've got 2 other samples here. What's done right with these?
Well, these, first of all, presentation-wise, these are stunning, I think. There's a lot of artistry that goes into this, and this is actually how the chocolates are presented in the shops. So this is the Fisherman's Friend confection from Beta 5.
Fisherman's Friend?
Fisherman's Friend.
So this is curing the cough while you're getting your sugar fix?
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
This is a mango chocolate from Chez Christophe in Burnaby. You can see how beautiful and shiny that is.
Show you the difference of that shell, much smaller on this one.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And also, if you look at the cross sections here, it's a little tricky to tell because the color is very similar, but you can see just how thin that shell is. When I went to go cut that in half, it was actually kind of challenging to cut it in half and not just have that top shell break. And it takes a lot of skill, actually, to make a shell that is that thin. And part of that also is the difference between fresh and shelf stable. So something like these chocolates are really designed to be eaten within 10 to 14 days of when the chocolatier made it.
That one's got a punch there with the Fisherman's Friend. So when you're judging all of these chocolates, how do you clean your palate to make sure you're doing justice to the creation?
That's a great question. So we actually use soupy polenta, believe it or not.
Oh.
And so it's a little bit like gruel at the end of the day. You're sort of like in between tastes. You're like a little spoonful of this corn-based porridge, kind of. But it works remarkably well, cleans your palate, and then you have a little sip of water, and then you move on to the next sample. So
you must be bouncing off the wall after a day of judging with these things.
You kind of get in this weird, like, the sugar rush is going like this, and then the caffeine's doing this, but your sugar rush from the previous plate is kind of coming down. You come out and you're just like, I just want like a steak or a curry or something. Like, you want something super savory.
Yeah. Well, you're helping the chocolate lovers out this morning. You've got the chocolate tasting kit. What's in here? What are we giving away?
So we've got goodies from last year's Canadian winners, and specifically Vancouver. And so we've got a box of chocolates from Beta 5 with their winners in there, a box from Chez Christophe, including their mango chocolate. We've got a bar from DC Doobie, and we've got a chocolate spread from Chocolaterie de la Nouvelle-France. And
nice
the kit, of course.
Okay, contests at btvancouver.ca. Subject line, chocolate on that. Good luck to you. Thanks so much for sharing the insights on this.
Thank you.
This is cool, and some chocolate treats too on your Monday morning. Quick break, top news stories on the other side for you. Lots still to come here in the last 30 minutes of breakfast television.